interesting. Hello, I can see you.
Hi. Hello. So I'm not exactly sure the subject matter at hand, but I just want to address like something you just said. Even if I'm 100% sure of my position, there's no way in hell I'd put $100,000 on it. I'd have to mortgage my house. And it's not the fact that I might be wrong. It's the fact that they might think I'm wrong, or I might not meet their level or threshold of being right. So even if I was 100% certain on a subject, I would not risk that kind of money. I would not put my skin in the game for that.
I think, I don't know. I think if you're an institution, a research institution or something like that, you have the resources, you probably know the experts, right? Then I don't think that's actually quite a big bet.
I mean, sure, if I was a millionaire, then my calculus changes, right? Like if I already have $1 billion or whatever, sure, I'll throw $100,000 at it. Why not? But no, I get the point you're making.
Right.
Let's say that. But
okay,
I'll throw $100,000 on that booty, Wick. What's up?
hell yeah, man! You guys want to throw $100,000 at my booty? I'd be hard pressed to say no. I'm very heterosexual, right? But 100,000 grand, 100 grand,
Yeah.
gang. Oof.
100 grand's gay money for sure.
I wouldn't go gay for 100,000.
Oh, huh. You're just
Wait,
fiscally
you're telling me?
irresponsible then.
Oh no!
I thought you were
I-
a conservative, Monty. You gotta be fiscally responsible here.
100,000.
If I
Honestly,
if I brought a briefcase in front of you, if I set that briefcase in front of you, open up that briefcase, let you smell it, right? Let you hold that money, $100,000. You wouldn't let someone have your booty hole for that?
I've seen 100K.
Okay,
you know
well.
what? I've seen 100K. It's fine. I can pass. I'll do it some other way.
Have the booty holes is a tougher one, but just general gay activities, I could 100K easy. Dude.
Right.
Oh, I
this is
love how well I
assuming
walk
assuming that you're not normally open to
Well, yeah,
male
obviously,
penetration.
No one's paying you 100.
Right,
Yeah. No one's throwing you 100K for something they can get for free, so
right.
or for dinner.
Well, I mean, I guess you could fake it and then just con the person out of their 100K. Paradigm shift. Hello.
We're,
You jumped into this one.
Paradigm. If we would go gay for 100K, I say hard yes. That's a lot of money right there.
Yeah, hard yes. $100,000. I could do so much. With that.
Mm-hmm.
Gay for 100K? I feel like all the gay guys in the audience are just like, yeah, do
Yeah,
it for 100 pennies at this point.
The privileged ones, you know, but us underprivileged straight folk, this is if you know struggle, you know, you gotta take the 100K.
All right. I mean,
My chat says gay for how long though? Like forever?
No,
See,
for
yeah,
day.
one night. It's
for a
one night.
day.
It's one night.
And we
Just
were
one night.
you were discussing details too. Like I was thinking just general gay activities, but Wick said give up the booty hole. I was like, I might have to raise the price.
100K. Yeah, 100 grand. Sorry, there has to be penetration, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Phallic
100K for just
penetration
holding
needs to
hands?
happen. Yeah.
well, I'm not saying like just holding hands, but like there are gradients.
Like suck a
And I
dick.
think-
You'd suck a dick for 100K.
for 100. Oh, easy for
Suck a
100K
dick.
money. Yeah.
All right.
I'm not going to be in pain from that.
Jeez. Wait, hold on. I'm
So
sure.
there's limits.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
There's no of course.
500K we're playing. 500K we're playing a different game. 100K though, there's limits.
Everyone can be bought. As I always say, my model for life: anything for $6 billion. Would you run over this road of kittens for anything for $6 billion?
Yeah, 6 billion. Yeah, fuck those
Dude,
kittens.
yeah. Whoever I have to kill to get $6 billion will have a very nice funeral. I'll treat their family very well, but I'm getting my $6 billion.
Yeah. No, not 100. 100K, I wouldn't do it. But then again, I have 4 kids. I have a wife. I have like a bunch of things to think about. Am I gonna blow up all that for 100K? If I was single and I had nothing better to do, I'd be like, yeah, okay, fine, no problem.
You don't have to tell your kids, and then your wife. It can be a mutual decision. It can be like, hey, honey, listen, it's $100,000. You know, $100,000. That's investable. That's a down payment on some quality real estate. You can make that $100 go for 500 over in the long term.
It's not the sex aspect for me. Okay, it's the letting some other dude dominate me like that. Okay, for even for a little
you do
time.
that on panels all the time.
What if it's
you
the
do that on
opposite?
panels all the time off your plate for free. You ain't getting like I'm gonna dominate you tonight and this evening. And you didn't give me a cent. Right?
What if it's like a pay pig type dude? What if it's a dude who wants you to dominate him for fucking $100,000?
Now you just made things more interesting.
Easy. Yeah, right. Maybe it's you dipping the spoon in the Cheerios and not him, and he's paying you $100,000.
Maybe
dipping the spoon in the Cheerios.
Gang, I'm gonna get a drink. I'll be right back.
Of course,
but
of course.
yeah, don't stop it.
Yeah, don't stop the party. Oh, no, am I gonna? Okay, hello, Paradigm Shift. You walked right into this one, but this isn't one of the topics we're talking about. We're doing the High Times podcast. Hello. My name is Montrealplayer. I'm doing this every Thursday. I think I don't know if Wick's smoking. Clearly, Paradigm Shift is smoking, and I've got my my stash. I'm prepared. I dropped one.
Yeah, I'm drinking.
Too many joints.
So.
Okay, what do we got? What do we got on the menu, JebTan?
This is an improved whiskey cocktail, it's called. It's like an old-fashioned, but you spray the glass, you rinse the glass with absinthe, and you put some maraschino liqueur in there. It's nice.
Okay. Absinthe
But
and
I don't like
maraschino. Okay.
I don't like to waste the absinthe, though, so I don't rinse the glass, because rinsing is you, like, toss it around and you throw some out.
Right.
But I can't bring myself to do that, so I put it in a little one of those travel spray bottles, and I just spritz the glass with it, so I don't have to pour anything out.
All right. Well, tonight I'm drawing. I'm drinking the Dalmore Scotch, 12 years.
Oh yes.
And
you guys are brown liquor gentlemen.
I am. Well, I like gin. I'm not huge on other clear liquors, but
what's your?
Sorry, I understand that it's a little dark, so I'll give you a little light.
Oh, what do you got there?
This is Sosa.
Oh yeah.
Tequila.
Okay.
I like tequila cocktails. I don't like it on its own.
How are you taking that? How are you taking the tequila? Just sipping on it, or are you combining it with things?
I'm combining it with things.
Okay.
Right now I have a beautiful concoction here.
Ooh.
Dude, Palomas are probably some of the best cocktails of all time.
Okay, so I wanted to mix it up a bit. I kind of told you guys in the group chat. Wick, come on, one more thing. Wick, are you smoking with us, or are you just here to smoke us in debate?
I'm high on life.
Okay.
Yes.
I got beer coming as well.
Let's go. Yes.
Okay.
This will be my weed for the day. It's my Canadips CBD dip pouches. I'll probably throw one of them in.
Okay.
Not a sponsor.
So, I don't know how to show you guys this, or I don't know how to show it to your audiences and stuff. But I've selected some topics that I thought might be fun to bounce around. All right, and I'd invite people to come vote on the thing. I'm going to start the poll right now for 5 minutes. There you go, and it's like, what should we talk about? And I'm going to list them out for you. I'm going to list them out for you. Here are the topics. Okay. All right. Am I a fascist for saying democracy sucks sometimes? All right. That's 1. 2, most education sucks. What are we paying for? All right. 3, how much should we work? Actually, the education one isn't on the table yet. I only have space for 5. How much should we work? All right. 4, is it okay to say lab leak now? 5, are antidepressants a scam? And 6, endless clickbaiting. So I'll let you guys...
is that endless as in the person, or just endless as in people are clickbaiting a lot?
Yes.
Okay.
That's it. I thought we could have fun with any one of these, and I figured I'll put...
I was just saying, I think that talking about endless on streams he's not on might be played out, so...
it's okay.
Maybe a different one.
You know what? It's not that. It's just it's more about the clickbait mechanism that I guess.
You know what's crazy, Monty, is that I think like you and me are gonna just end up agreeing so hard on that because I know that you know what I know, and it's like it's just funny. It is funny, like, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. See,
it's just funny.
Look, if we run out of steam, we got a bunch of topics to pick from. We'll just put
on
up
the joke.
Put up. Oh, you got to vote.
On the joke. You guys.
You got to vote.
I want to laugh.
You got to vote.
You got to vote.
So that's it. Hop into Monty's chat. Go back to your other respective chats, please. I don't want to steal anyone's anything, but come into Monty's chat for just a bit. Click your vote, and then go back and listen to the stream from your favorite streamers' chat.
I think people very overwhelmingly seem to want the lab leak.
Really?
First.
Okay.
It's 11. It's 11, and the next best is 2.
Oh right. Let me put this poll up higher. There you go.
That's probably a safe start.
There we go. Oh, why is it so small? Where's my poll? Where's my poll? Said the man. All right.
You know, I think it'd be better at this by now. For how long I've been doing it, almost a year now. I had to, I'm always having to remember to shout people out, things like that. But
dude, I can't even get myself to turn on the fucking stream. I'm so lazy.
Go follow Montrealplayer. I shouted him out on my chat, so give him a follow. Come back, but give him a follow. You can give us both of you.
Yeah, right? Everybody, my guests. It's exclamation point guests. You'll get all their links, and it pops up every 10 minutes. So no ambiguousness. There you go. You can find them all. Exclamation point guest in Monty's chat. Let's put the topics down. They're all in the. And we won't hide JebTan's face anymore. There we go. And in the meantime, while we're waiting for this thing to go down, oh boy, Lab Leak's really pulling ahead. Yeah, that's it. Thanks everybody for coming. We've established that that. I guess 100K, gay for 100K might work in most cases.
We don't even need that to be a topic. I feel like we're set.
No. We've already blown right through it. If very efficient, this panel. The only panel that'll come to absolute truth on every topic.
You have to come to common ground if you want to have a good debate. You got to find something everybody agrees on, which is that it is at least reasonable to consider $100,000 for some. Let's say just outside of your own sexual orientation activity.
That's right.
For you gay men, to go down on a woman, 100K, fucking easy peasy.
My gut tells me 100K. I'd probably say no, but I would definitely think about it. I would definitely think about it long and hard.
Okay. All right. I think it's fiscally irresponsible to just make it a no, but as long as you're thinking about it.
I just found it funny that you guys immediately thought about investing the money.
That's me, man. That's
what would you do with the money?
Yeah.
Like, it's a personal.
Spend it on Pokemon cards. Clearly, that's what I would do.
Grab me some NFTs, baby. I'm going to the moon.
Even if you're not using the 100K as an investment in property, I would still say if you ever get a lump of 6 figures from anything, insurance settlement, fucking suing somebody, whatever, put it down on a house for at least for you to live in, or a condo, depending on where you live. I think Paradigm, were you from the Baltimore area too?
I am not, my good sir.
Okay, I thought it's just Dylan then. Well, I know some of us are in expensive metro areas where 100K actually isn't that substantial of a down payment on a house, but a condo, anything permanent where your monthly housing payments are going to you and nobody else.
All right, the results are in. The results are in. People want to hear takes on can we say lab leak? At this point, at one point it was very dicey if you suggested lab leak because that wasn't the line. But recently, I guess memos and emails have come out saying that that we're able to, or that we're very pro, I guess, funding gain of function research, and these things, happened in Wuhan, and it's very likely that the thing leaked out, and clearly all the conspiracy folks are super happy about this, but that's it. How do you guys feel about that? Is it okay to say lab leak now, or are we allowed without being conspiracy nuts?
I think it's not only okay. I think it's the more likely outcome, or the more likely source of the two hypotheses. There is really zero evidence of animal to human transmission of the disease still. This deep in, we still haven't had an animal that happened to be carrying the human transmissible and giving it to somebody, let alone an animal harboring a coronavirus and then making it into one that could jump to humans. But there is evidence that lab was working on coronaviruses that were specifically being manipulated to see if they could jump to humans. So I don't think it's like definite, but I think it's the more likely of the two for sure.
Anybody else want to?
Sure. Like, look, this is just an example of why we should be a little more cautious before labeling things a conspiracy theory. Even at the height, there was, it was done for very kind of political reasons. Like, we didn't want to offend the Chinese government. We didn't want it to be racialized in these things. So we put out, we jumped to conspiracy theory on it when it really never was a conspiracy theory. Now, I wouldn't be as certain of it as JebTan here. I'm more 50-50 on it, right? I don't think there's enough evidence either way to say. But no, I think that if you want to talk about it, you should be able to talk about it. If you want to discuss it, you should be able to discuss it. If that's something you believe, you should be able to say it. Why not?
I guess that would just leave me, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can do this in the shortest time frame possible. I don't think anybody's ever been stopped from discussing it. I just don't think it's a real thing. I'm not one of those like, yeah, let's entertain that possibility type of people. And the reason I'm not is because one way or another, America still fucked up its response. I'd rather less care about where it came from and more about what we did here. And we did almost absolutely nothing, and we're doing absolutely nothing. So if the debate is that if it was a bioweapon attack, they still beat us. If it was a mistake that leaked out, they still beat us. There's still countries that did it better than us. There's still examples of different responses that our system was not prepared for. There's still weaknesses in our system that were exploited. Whether somebody did that on purpose or not, we showed weakness. And we're still showing weakness by even asking ourselves this question so late. So if you want to say, or you want to discuss it, I mean, be my guest. Just don't be surprised when like somebody pull up on the, when somebody pulls up like other types of research and stuff and says it's not real. Like, don't be surprised if you don't get to an answer there, because it doesn't matter in the end game.
So the only thing I'd say to that is there was a time where you weren't allowed to talk about it, at least online. They would take down Facebook posts and Twitter posts would be flagged for it. It was censored for a short amount of time. But
Why was that?
Because it was considered a conspiracy theory and misinformation.
Okay, so I want to pull that meaning back, because I feel like you just gave me an answer a streamer would give me. I'm asking you, why do you think it was a bad idea to have, or why do you think it was wrong to pull anything? Like, what do you think the impact of that theory is on people? That's what I should be asking you.
What do I think the impact of the lab leak theory is?
Yes.
I don't think it has necessarily a huge impact. I was against it from the start, censoring it from the start. I think the impact people feared, right? Like, the impact people feared is it would make us more antagonistic towards Chinese individuals. That was the fear.
You ever watch the movie Men in Black?
Yes, I have.
Okay, you remember when Tommy Lee Jones said, "A person is smart, people are dumb, stupid, panicky animals"?
I do.
Okay, let's say it was a lab leak, and let's say all of America hated China. What did the lab leak theory do to help our response to the coronavirus?
Look, I don't think it helped it at all.
I think
right. So what I'm saying is in the idea of it being misinformation or it being labeled, I understand like the idea of government overreach, and I'm not like advocating for it here, but like we are talking about Twitter, so it gets there anyway. So I just feel like some things, like the Plandemic movie, like it gets into that sphere of like, that drives people crazy, even if it were correct, because they don't know how to process science from the jump. They get the results of whatever scientific experiment. They don't get to see the process in action. Them saying, "Oh, guess what? We might have an idea it was about." Does that strengthen our resolve to help fix the issue, or is it just like, I'm gonna get COVID anyway? Who cares?
Yeah, but they suppressed the idea. You know what? I'm gonna say my one thing, and I'll let you go right after.
Yeah.
I think suppressing the talking of that idea, or the speaking of that idea is detrimental, because it erodes the trust, the already waning trust that people have in the institutions. You know, when the institutions say no, you can, can and can't talk about this, and it turns out something was true. It's like, why couldn't I talk about it, right? Like this increasing focus, increasing focus on you controlling the narrative and suppressing anybody who's against the narrative. All right, makes me feel like everything you say is bullshit, and I can't trust anything. And that's a massive, massive problem for long term, not the immediate term. Okay, but for the long term, and I think the problem in engaging in stuff like this is that in the short term you're thinking, well, okay, how do I minimize the risks from this thing? How do I minimize the harm from right now in this one kind of thing I'm trying to control? But the long-term effects are going to be much harder to undo, and I think more destructive, because the erosion of trust in our institutions is really it's a massive problem everywhere. All right, JebTan, it's yours.
Yeah, so there are two things.
Okay, because if you both respond, I'd have to respond to both of you. Right?
But let JebTan go. I gave him the turn.
Yeah.
And
right. No,
I
I'm
want
just
to keep
making
this
sure
rolling.
I don't want to confuse the conversation.
Yeah.
So there are a few things to touch on. One, the actual suppression itself. The reason why the suppression itself was an issue is similar to like what Monty was saying. It erodes trust. The reason it erodes trust is when you start to realize that they have the power to suppress things that they don't actually know not to be true, it actually gives credence to conspiracy theorists, because they're like, look at all the things they've suppressed before that were true, that ended up being true, or at least they clearly did not know that they weren't true. So what I'm saying that they're trying to suppress could be true. Whereas if you are only suppressing things that are proven not to be true, that suppression itself actually has more trust from the people, because they can say, okay, this got suppressed by the WHO, and the WHO only suppresses things that they know to not be true, so we can trust it. Two, with the suppression, one of the issues is in this particular circumstance, we were suppressing the idea not based on anti-Chinese sentiment. The anti-Chinese people sentiment came from this idea that Chinese people were disgusting people who ate raw bat soup from wet markets that allowed the disease to jump to them, and their primitive wet markets were the reason why it spread to everybody else. Oh, those gross Chinese people. The gain-of-function research causing a lab leak hypothesis actually shifts more of the blame toward the Chinese government than it does to the Chinese people. The Chinese people were going to get shit either way, and in fact, they were getting more shit when the idea was they're disgusting bat eaters and that's why their disease spread. No, it's their government was performing gain-of-function research that could possibly have leaked this disease to everybody. And then there's the issue with what you were saying with it doesn't help our response. It doesn't help our response to the virus knowing the source, but it can help our response to future viruses knowing the source. Or if we have to respond to future viruses, because say it was a lab leak and we find better ways to protect ourselves from lab leaks as a result because we know it was, and we're willing to investigate it, then it's a lot less likely that we find ourselves in the same situation again if in fact that was actually the source. The issue with the trust in institutions comes from the people who were suppressing it because the CDC said that it was wrong. But the spokesperson for the CDC was Anthony Fauci, who is also one of the foremost proponents and purveyors of gain-of-function research. So there's going to be an implicit bias seen by the people, whether or not it's actually there, that basically downstream the social media banned a theory because it hurts the pockets of Anthony Fauci, is what they're able to say and claim.
I think Paradigm Shift, I want you to respond, but he gave you like three things there.
I'll be back in 2 minutes.
He gave you three things there, and I'm having trouble keeping track of them, honestly.
Yeah, and now he's leaving.
So
he's not gonna be able to
what is that?
Wow. I don't understand.
Wick, do you have anything you'd like to say before I respond?
I mean,
actually,
but I don't want to.
I actually don't. I don't like his last point that okay, well, we absolutely had to know immediately where the thing came from, or to shape our response. The response is going to come after. Okay, whether or not it comes out immediately or whether it comes out later, I'm sure, or whether it doesn't come out at all, I'm sure the other people or the people responsible is like, look, we better not let this fucking lab leak shit happen anymore. All right, that stuff is bad. Other than that, about preventing lab leaks, look, I don't think there's anything preventing more pandemics from spreading across the world. Okay, the only thing we could do is train our responses, kind of a bit to what Paradigm Shift was saying, right? What's important is how we're dealing with them. What's really important is how we actually deal with them, because if we because these things are going to happen. We're a globalized society at this point. Planes are going all over the place. Okay, diseases are eating bad food on American Airlines right now. Okay, and they're just spreading all over the place. So in the globalized society, if we want to keep this going, It's going to happen more and more. So whether it's lab leak or whether it's zoonotic or whether it's whatever, okay, these things are going to spread all the time. Okay, sorry. That was my little blurb, and now you can respond to JebTan while you could see his face.
Yeah, sorry, my beer delivery is here, so I would just be like running in.
Beer delivery? Oh, it's like that? Oh,
beer delivery.
Say less.
Okay.
Say
I
less.
just learned what that means. Say less. All right, go on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There we go. Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
See, it works in conversation. It comes off a lot better. Okay. I'm going to take your response to that part and use that as my response because I think that's just well put. So you brought up I think the biggest point that you made is eroding the trust of institutions.
Yeah, that people have in institutions. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Everybody's gonna think I'm insane for this, but I do it. Monty, you've been with me before, so you know it's time.
That's why I invited you.
It's time to go on a little story time. We're going to story time.
Okay.
Gotta go to story time. I want you to imagine that everything that happened, like on January 30th, 2019, we were warned that there was a chance that there was some type of viral like miscommunication in a lab in China, and like we're not sure if that got out or not. They did suppression tactics, they did quarantine tactics, they really shut shit off. It was corridor to corridor, like they was walling places off. They don't know if it's out or not. In response, the entire world decided to launch a global network, GNN, and create a vast network of resources to help combat any possible pandemic or any possible virus
but enjoy the show.
Goes along in the next 5 years. We end up finding out that the coronavirus, yes, the thing itself that was created, it did get out. But because we had this plan in order, because we had all this time in the world, we knew for a fact that we could stop it before it even started to spread. Everybody was covered. Everybody was good. We got it all right. If we got it all right in this world, would you be okay with telling other people that think that somehow, even though we got it all right, there were still things that were done undercover, under secret? They started, spreading little theories around about what's really going on. Even if we got it all right, would you be okay then, if we got it all right, with, and I keep repeating that because I want to make sure we get that clear. If we got the response, like we told the public everything, step by step, how we got it all right, we mitigated it, 2 weeks to stop the spread, and it happened.
Yeah.
Would you be okay then with suppressing any information that contradicts what happened?
No, I wouldn't. No,
and I'll tell you.
Go ahead, Wick. Yeah.
So here's the problem, gang, is we do this hindsight thing. Like, in looking back, we can see which was true and which was not. But at the time, right, when things are coming down the pipe, right, a lot of times we don't actually know what's real and what is not. And this is why I'm very much against any kind of board of misinformation or any kind of government or even social media corporation level attempts to suppress quote unquote misinformation, because a lot of the times you cannot discern, at least with any degree of certainty, the difference between misinformation and things that are just particularly unlikely that just happen to be true. We just don't know. It takes time for these things to be kind of sussed out, and especially when you leave it in the hands of bureaucrats. And when you leave it in the hands of corporate entities to make these decisions, they're just going to get it wrong. The question I asked to everyone was, would you be okay with President Trump deciding what is and is not considered misinformation?
I mean, I wouldn't be okay with it on principle because I don't want people deciding what is and isn't.
Certainly, but for those who are
okay, sure,
those who are for it, there may not be anyone for it here on this panel, right? Which, hooray! But I know a lot of my audience, at least, is pushing back against me right now.
Okay.
But for them, I would say, would you be okay with President DeSantis deciding what is and is not misinformation?
Don't say that, man.
So
you say President DeSantis, I'm about to get.
Monty, I think we fell into this the first time we had our conversation, so I'm going to take a lesson that I learned.
I owe you an apology, by the way.
Yo, same. Like on some real shit though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do this right now. We both we was slinging the wrong things back.
Let's talk about this when we are deciding when people are voting on the next topic, because I want to hash this out.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, let's keep. Yeah, okay. So you asked the question: would you be okay with President Trump deciding? So, arbiters of truth. No, matter of fact, I can't do that. I have to be picky because I do this for a living. Sadly. You did say in the beginning that we as a populace can't really discern the difference between an unlikely event and actual true misinformation. Okay, that's a problem with like the education of the internet. Like you have given credence to everything needs to be discussed. I think there are some things that we can lay to rest. Does that make sense? In certain.
Hey, Melissa.
Was slavery bad? Like there's some things we can lay to rest. But there are forums that exist out there that debate this existence. There are people who role play the Civil War. Like there are communities, there are things. So clearly we're not all on the same page about some things that I think most people would agree should be laid to, like, we dropped bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Like we did that. There are some people who think that that did not happen. Like with full fleshed out theories and everything.
So I guess my question to you, real quick, is would you forbid people from discussing it?
No, I can't tell people. I can't have a group of people
online. I mean, like posting about it and disseminating it. Let's say.
No.
Okay, then we're fine. I would just have to have
I would just have to have them I feel like you also got to set that space up for people to know that that's not the actual reality. Because it's like, oh, Japanese people made that up. Like, I hate Japanese people. I'm going to go to a Japanese place and do something bad. You see how pipeline...
Yeah, I get you. I think the way we do that, though, the most effective way we do that is by allowing it to be discussed and allowing these bad ideas to be BTFO'd in debates. And BTFO'd when it comes to these things. And there's always going to be some people who believe them. Like right now in America, at least, and I can't speak for the rest of the world, I can only speak for America. We are living through an epistemological crisis. What does that mean? Epistemology is how we know truth, how we know something actually happened or actually didn't happen. We have a crisis in America because our institutions, whether it be news, our politicians, our sources that we used to trust have proven themselves time and time again to have lied to us, to have misrepresented the truth to us. And so it has become extremely hard to trust them, even on things that, like you said, should be settled, right? And I think that is a self-inflicted wound in a lot of cases. And how did we inflict this on ourselves? By insisting that we were right, even when we didn't know we were right. So my advocacy here is to take a step back, let people discuss and disseminate what they will, and let the truth win out. And people are saying, oh, but volume wins out. At the end of the day, gang, if you stop dealing with reality's going to slap you in the ass at some point, right? It's just going to.
I think
raised you said that. That's crazy. Because he walked into it. Like, what do you want me to not say it? Like, if that were the case, then like the way we dealt with the coronavirus pandemic wouldn't have like people leading up all these different types of cures and this and that, and people aren't dying. You know how many times I gotta show people the New York Times article? Died. Like, you know how many times I gotta show people the New York Times article to be like, hey, that's a person I know. Hey, that's a person I know. Hey, that's like, it gets to a point where like they sit there in disbelief. I had a friend of mine sit there with his whole heart. Thank God he doesn't believe this anymore. But like, I would tell him that a friend of mine passed away and he'd be like, post the obituary. It really was COVID, post the obituary. And I'd be like, yo, why, even if it wasn't COVID, isn't a death sad? Like, when you start to allow certain ideas to ferment, I do believe in the wrong negative space, you can lead people to have bad conclusions about situations that they are justified in feeling correct about. In other words, they can be right and be like being mad at the government. Yes. The actions you take, the discussions you have can go in separate directions. I feel like letting ideas that are not grounded in reality be discussed on a level where it grows to a community will cause greater issues than.
Who decides?
Hold on, no, can
Who
I?
decides what is grounded?
I actually have one thing for that. I don't feel like don't you think it's like you're trading kind of a short term, you're trading a short term benefit for a long term massive like problem. Let's say another pandemic hits, all right, and all these institutions are telling us, listen, you got to trust us this time, you got to get inside, okay, we're going to try to fix this and stuff like that, and everyone's and a lot of people are just gonna be like, yeah, but look at all this bullshit you slung us. How do we know you're not bullshitting us right now? I'm not going to cooperate. I'm not going to take the whatever your measure is. I'm just going to do whatever I want because you're full of shit. You've lied to me before. All right. And you don't want people doing that in this case, right? There were a lot of people already doing that during the pandemic. And
they're continuing it with the monkeypox right now. I mean, the WHO could not come to a conclusion as to whether or not to declare it as an emergency. The leader of the WHO literally overrode them. They would not come to a consensus to declare it an emergency. And the WHO, one guy, the leader of the WHO, said, I'm just going to overrule you because I think it's an emergency. And so, again, you see that centralization of information. Just like instead of listening to the CDC, we were listening to Anthony Fauci. Now, instead of listening to the WHO, we're listening to the head of the WHO. It's like people are going to breed, that's going to breed a natural mistrust because it's like, if you really do represent the WHO, why can't the WHO come to an agreement to declare this an emergency? But then you have news outlets going out and saying the WHO barely ever declares emergencies, so this monkeypox thing is big. But everyone's like, no, it's not, because the WHO is not declaring it emergency. They actually didn't, but their leader just said, the head of the WHO just said, right. I don't care what they say. I'm going to do it anyway.
At the beginning of the pandemic, they said, yeah, it's okay to travel on planes. And now ParadigmShift has had his hand up for a bit. I'm going to let you go.
No, I'm also pointing towards you. The thing we talked about is exactly what I'm going to respond to them with.
Okay.
It's because it's like, okay. Oh man, you had such a good answer for this, and like I was sitting there like, yeah, I definitely could agree with that. Let me put it together in my head. I got this. The way we disseminate information has the problem of eroding the trust with the citizens. I don't think any of us right now are ready to really dissect the inner workings of the WHO. We can only talk about what they put out. And I do not think anyone in their right mind right now, and I mean anyone, is doing a good job of actually talking, or like, there's nobody who's ever said, yo, I'm going to get an interview with the head of the WHO. Like that, no. We need that. We need like.
I wouldn't.
We need.
I'm not here to take guesses. I'm not here to take guesses on the WHO. But I suppose the fundamental question is, what kind of institution of government do you want? Do you want one that's going to suppress information based on the perceived risks of the moment, or do you want one that's going to systematically let information flow? Okay, as long or systematically be unsure. Project, I guess, uncertainty, saying, look, we don't know where this is. It doesn't really matter. Right now, we got to focus on these things. Okay. And even if we're uncertain, our best guess is this, like, admit that they're not 100% in, right? Don't you find like over the long term, that's better leadership? Actually,
that's literally what we talked about. Yes. That. Yes. It's like, I just want somebody in the government to be like, yo, we fucked up. Like, my bad. We let it slip. Yo, this bro over here, he not doing his job. The president not doing his job. The office, they taking pictures with claws. They not doing nothing. Like, yo, they're letting this slip. But I feel like there are also people in communities like scientists who are trying to yell that out. And like, we don't pay enough attention to them because that's not our culture. There are people who are trying to make that point with honest, true, like research. Like real, like I could show you my lab and how I'm putting this together. And we don't listen to them at large. I mean, I'm aware of this because I have people who point me in that direction. I feel like
how deep do we want to go here, right? Like, because you're pointing at like kind of like this systemic issue that we have, these incentives that government officials have to tell the truth or not to tell the truth, to admit to fucking up or not to fucking up. Unfortunately, with the system we have, every incentive is on just to say never to admit to a mistake. Right?
Yeah.
Never admit to a mistake, because as soon as you do, you are going to lose your position of power. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Is it going to happen, or is just that's the fear?
Exactly, that's the fear. And like at this point, I want to get rid of the notion that even being like humility is what will make you lose your position, like not just going straight faced. Because oh boy, that's a conversation for another day. But that's funny that you said that, because somebody else told me last night the complete opposite. And it's crazy because if I were to take you at face value, that would mean that that person was wrong, which means that conversation was pointless. But if I take him at face value, that means you're wrong. And I don't get it because y'all both speak the same politics. At least I think.
You could be right, but for the wrong
I need
reason.
names here. I need names here. We need to clarify. Go on, JebTan.
I don't know what this person said, right? But there's also a measure that both people are partially right. Like you guys said, it is the fear that they're going. The CDC does fear that they are going to lose trust from the public if they do say, you know what, we were not just. The science didn't just evolve. The science wasn't at a point where we could confidently say the lab leak theory was bullshit, but we kind of did. We did say it. We did imply that it was bullshit and that we had reason to believe it was bullshit when we didn't. And they do fear that that will make them lose credibility. And that's valid, right? But it's also what you're saying is valid, which is that there's also the potential they gain trust by being humble. So it's not that either person is right or wrong when they say they're afraid that they're going to lose out on public trust. And then someone else is saying, but they could gain public trust. Both can be true. They could be afraid of losing public trust and unaware that they might gain public trust instead. Because there's always a cost benefit. And I think that's where people are a little too harsh on bodies like the CDC as a whole. The issue is when you have like the media structures and the hero worship that turns the CDC into one person named Anthony Fauci, and then everything that guy says now represents the entirety of the CDC. And so if you don't like him, you then have to mistrust the CDC. That's a problem.
I don't know. I don't think even if it's one person, I think it's just mostly for me. It's just telling. I mean, this was kind of the problem a lot of people had with Fauci in the beginning over the masks thing, right? Like the don't wear masks thing, right? And he was probably saying this because they're having a hard time getting masks, delivered, or enough masks delivered. Yeah. And he's like, okay, I got to do something to like diminish the demand of masks, right? So we're gonna say, okay, masks don't help, don't get masks, okay? And maybe the supply, the supply, it'll less pressure on the supply, so the people who really need it can get it, not just everybody's just going to the store fucking buying up all the masks and then selling them at a premium, okay? Because we don't want that. So we're going to tell this little thing, we're going to tell this little lie, or not even lie, we're going to tell this thing, okay? We're going to tell people masks don't matter, even though we don't know. All right, and we're just gonna let it go, and then after that, it's like finally, okay, everybody mask the fuck up, okay, and there have been a bunch of things during the whole pandemic that have been this, like, oh, well, we told people something that wasn't quite true, we weren't quite sure, or we knew that it was wrong, but we thought it would manipulate people into doing the right thing, okay, and ultimately we're playing a numbers game and we're trying to reduce harm, and I think even if you had a point, even if you had a point immediately. All right, I think the long-term repercussions of that erosion of trust, okay, leave your system very vulnerable, okay, because at the end of the day, it comes down to your whole effort comes down to how can we get people to move in this direction, okay, for their own good, and if they don't trust you, they won't fucking move. Right. And in the future, we still need people to move to mitigate critical situations. Unfortunately, you need people to fucking move. That's how you do it. But if they're not moving because you've been bullshitting them and they caught you in it, then your whole system's fucked. Okay, Wick, you've been bursting at the seam.
Oh yeah, because this comes down to an argument that's going on for a long time, right? Plato and Aristotle argued this. What value is rhetoric versus truth? Like, is it okay to tell a lie, right, to get people to move towards your issue and things like that? And this is something that's been discussed ad infinitum, right? I think that it simply comes down to this. While a lie may work in the short term, right, it might help you in that situation. Eventually, the truth will come out, and eventually you will pay a heavy price for that. And it really comes down to, are you willing to take this short-term gain for a heavy price in the future? And I think this is what it comes down to when we talk about like trust in officials and trust in government. We've been by we, I mean, American institutions has been lying over and over again for years. And it has piled up and piled up and piled up, and we are living in the cost of that now. where no one trusts anyone anymore. We pick our ideological tribes. We stick in that tribe. It's not so much that our enemies are wrong, they are evil, right? They are liars, and our side can do no wrong, and their side can do no right, and no one trusts anyone anymore. And we are, the lab leak is just one symptom of a bigger disease, right?
Yeah,
where we can see that, like, they were much too heavy-handed in censoring it, and now no one trusts anything they try to censor anymore.
Okay, so I will this is a lot to respond to. I got it. I got 2 notes. After my fucking weird ass run-in with that whole big panel that last time,
we're gonna go 5-10 more minutes and then we're gonna switch, but go ahead.
Yeah, I figured that. So I can even make my closing. Only Sith deal in absolutes. I think the biggest issue that I'm going to agree with everybody on this group call with is that we do have an issue of where people get their truth from. They don't have trusted doctors in their communities who tell them, yo, like, I've known you for 16 years, you know I'm not going to lie to you. Even if that turns out to be misinformation, like, that's a whole other conversation for later. But, like, they don't have trusted sources for information. I still remember when I started teaching during the pandemic, we had moved everything online, and one of our coworkers shared a text message that was like, NYC helicopters are going to be spraying Lysol and other detergents across the sky to help kill the coronavirus. And I was like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Jesus Christ, why would you do that? But it's like, yeah, like, I think we as a society, I'm not saying the word, we as a populace do need...
We do live in one of these.
We do need some form of trusted... We need to be able to better disseminate how we get the truth. We need to understand that news outlets are blurbs, are journals, like, they're quick writing, they can't possibly encompass everything. I think, like, I think news would be better if, like, there were more, like, specific news. Like, if the New York Times wrote about one issue for 86 pages, I feel like you could do a lot. Like, that's boring newspapers, but, like, you could do it. You feel where I'm going with that? But, like, it gotta start with us having some concrete understandings about things that happen and if they're really worth our weight. I wouldn't feel like my trust was eroded in the CDC because, like, people that I hung around with had different opinions about the coronavirus, and some of those different opinions got people sick, and some of those different people that got sick died. So it's like, at that point, it's like, it's already too close for me to worry about the group at large. Like, now it's here. And to what I hate this, because my beautiful closing statement, because as Monty knows, I drag everything in a circle. I plan it out in my head early. A person is smart. People are dumb, panicky animals. If we give credence to this theory, if we find out it's true, how do we counter the fact that they kept that quiet? How do we what does that do to that populace who figures it out? Does that make them more enraged? Does that make them more adaptable to another circumstance? Does that make them more caring about their communities? And they say, hey, these people out there are fucking lying about this. You know me, I did the research last time, figured out that they was doing it. Look, I got all the proof right here. I went to the government, they silenced me. Same way they silenced it. Well, here's how we're gonna take care of our community. We're gonna do it right. We're gonna get the funds, we're gonna get the food, we're gonna lock ourselves. If it ends up going like that, then that's our fault, because we didn't build a community where that could be spread around everywhere. But like, if it's true, and if anybody can prove me wrong here, I would love it. Or not prove me wrong. I would love to say just add extra information so I can learn. I feel like the output of it is going to be purely, if not mostly, negative, and it might galvanize more ideas about government trust that would have to have deeper conversations. So they could be right about, so what I'm trying to say is, you could be right about the COVID lab leak, you might be wrong about real big issues. And like, you're not gonna wanna have that conversation because they already fucked up their trust with you once. So we gotta work both as teams to be more transparent and say, the populace is worried about this. Tell us the truth or else it's gonna get bad, because we deserve that as the people. We got to put people in those positions of power that are willing to do that. We don't got that right now. Sorry, can't help you.
Would you trust an institution, JebTan, I'll let you do your thing. Would you trust an institution if it said, you know what, we're actually not sure about that right now. Our best guess is this. We would recommend this. All right. But the truth is we're not sure, but for everybody's safety, the caution or the cautious path is this. You know, I think that's a better message than strongman saying do this or you're a fucking idiot, and then turns out it's bullshit. You know. Okay. Do you want to respond to that paradigm shift, or else I'll just leave it to JebTan?
No, leave it to Jeb.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, so I agree. I personally would respond well to that, but I understand the fear that most people wouldn't, because most people want someone to tell them what to do. That's one thing that we don't recognize, is that there are a lot of people out there who want to be told what to do in scary situations. They don't want to have to. They feel that the government should have the resources and the capability to give them the direct answer. I think that's a flawed view, but they feel that, and so I can understand. That's the thing, is while I despise the way it was handled, I can understand ways that it was handled. So the lab leak theory, yes, we should be able to talk about it. It's probably true, and it's one of many things that was told by, probably in the sense that it's 51-49, in my opinion, toward lab leak away from accidental. I'm not certain of it, but I think it is more probable that it's true. It's a part of a long list of things that the CDC, and namely Anthony Fauci, said that we later found out not to be as well-founded. Things they said they were certain about that they weren't. That weren't very well founded. Fauci, like we said, when he said not to wear masks because masks don't work, and then he later was willing to admit it was a lie, because at the later point he wanted people to wear masks so bad he was willing to almost admit that he lied to Congress. The problem is he was mostly right when he said that masks, the way that people in the public use them, are not very effective. When you look at actual analyses, metadata analyses over all the studies that have been done throughout the COVID pandemic, they find that the most reliable
you think
studies
so, Campbell, Corey Campbell?
Worked, like
clip
cloth
it,
masks,
clip it, tweet it,
and things like that.
Give them some feedback.
They refused to test masks on their own. They only tested them alongside hand hygiene. So there was one group that didn't wear masks and didn't exercise proper hand hygiene, and then there was a group that did wear masks and did exercise proper hand hygiene. And the results for mask effectiveness happened to line up almost perfectly with results from other tests that we've long relied on about the effectiveness of hand hygiene. So there wasn't really any clear data that cloth masks or surgical masks work to prevent illness in general, let alone COVID-19.
You're the institution I don't trust anymore.
Now, when we look back at the metadata analyses, the effectiveness is lower than 20% for anything other than an R95 or an N95. R95s or N95s with respirators, and only if those N95s are fitted properly, which most people at home weren't doing. They didn't know how to fit an N95 mask.
Hold on, the mask is even the mask, even a fucking t-shirt in front of the face, okay, is more effective just because it less particles go further. All right, even if you have something that has a multiple.
Now, when those particles are not, but that's the thing is,
if you have something that has a multiplicative effect, okay, and you reduce reduce the overall spread by even a small percentage, that small percentage also multiplies exponentially. So every little bit has a massive effect.
But that's the thing is, when you look at the practicality of it, that's not necessarily true, right? Because if my cloth masks reduces my infectiousness by 20%, but I only spread it to 3 people, reducing it by 20%, I still would spread it to 3 people. That's how it operated in most cases. And when you look at the evidence for mask mandates, it's even worse. Mask mandates were even less effective than the masks themselves, obviously, because mask mandates are going to have the variability of whether people follow them. And the mask data that wasn't actually very good was what was being used to justify mask mandates. That's one of the things where when you look at the lab leak theory turning out to be more likely to be true than initially thought, the idea that masks don't work very well unless you have an N95 or an R95 being more true than we originally thought, right? The idea that you could spread it outside. Right? There was the whole thing at the beginning of the thing where CDC was telling everybody that it could spread on surfaces, that you can't go outside, you can't go run, you can't go to the beach, as we learned in California. You can't go to the beach because you're going to get it at the beach. That turned out not to be true. It's the collection of absolutism because people want to be told what to do.
Corey's going to fucking explode right now.
Forced in this position where they can't say, we don't know, but maybe be careful and stay inside. They have to say, stay inside or you're going to get sick, that erodes trust in the institution because they were absolutist about multiple things that ended up being.
We're actually talking
untrue.
about, if you've been here for a while, we're actually talking about trust in our institutions.
At preventing COVID-19 and mask mandates are, and then they turn out to be 20% effective. What you said was mostly untrue. There's obviously the kernel of, well, if it reduces it by any little bit, then it helps. That's not what they said, though. What they said was you're a selfish person who wants your grandma to die if you don't wear a mask because they're so effective, when they had not been proven to be. And you'll see countless media articles to this day saying masks work, studies show masks work, all citing the same study that doesn't separate masks from hand hygiene, and masks just so happen to have like a 5% difference in efficaciousness with hand hygiene, in a study where the group that didn't wear masks also didn't practice proper hand hygiene. So that's one of the things where we just need to be less absolutist. Like you said, I think we're all coming to the same conclusion, is that a more trustworthy entity is one that can speak in nuance and say the quiet part out loud, in that we want you to be more careful than you have to be, right? And that it would be even more trustworthy if there wasn't a government trying to enact policy based on what they're saying, because that creates an incentive for them to be more absolutist, because when you're more absolutist, that government that is following your lead is more likely to enact policy based on what you're saying.
Before we give it to Wick, what you're saying raises one question. You know what? This impulse to be absolutist because people need to hear it. Do you think our population is ready for nuanced announcements on this scale, or do you think they're not able to respond? We wouldn't be able to respond to it. That's the question in my mind.
Well,
I don't know. Hold on. I'm gonna. Yeah. Okay. Do you have a short answer? Because I want Wick to talk, and then I want to move.
Yeah. My very short answer would be, you as a parent know what everybody tells you when you want to teach your kid to talk. Don't talk to them like a baby when they're a baby. Talk to them like an adult. That's the only way they're going to get used to talking like an adult and listening to adults.
Fair enough.
If we're not ready for nuance, the only way we're going to be is if we start being spoken to with nuance.
All right, Wick.
Yeah, so my show's called Death of Certainty for a reason. Less absolutism is a grand thing. The wisest people I've ever met are the ones who are willing to admit, I don't know. And I think that JebTan's exactly right when he says if we want to be ready for nuance, we have to get used to it. We have to be trained to accept nuance as a population, because that's the only way forward, gang. That's the only way forward that doesn't have some really bad outcomes. I think that we need to just, as institutions, simply stop the centralization of information. Okay, this centralization of information that has to be disseminated through only one source of truth. We need to take evidence as it comes to it. We put too much onus on the messenger rather than the message. We need to take what is given to us with a grain of salt in every situation, even if the CDC, even if the the World Health Organization, even the President of the United States. Doesn't matter who's telling you it. Skepticism is a good thing. That's what I want to say.
All right, I'm gonna give my last 2 cents on this, and we'll move on. I think the one source of truth reality has been a reality for a while, at least for maybe a generation or two, and until not that long ago. And then the internet came out, and then all of a sudden everybody could become broadcasters again. There was a point where, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody who's hearing this, but it seems to me there was one time a point where newspapers were the disseminators of information, and they were everywhere, and they were independent, saying their own kind of little thing. And then at one point there was a massive buyout. Okay, large companies scooped up smaller newspapers and became centralized disseminators of what the narrative was. And for a while we just kind of got used to that. That's how we built our society. That's how we built our way of thinking. Oh, the media with money, that looks shiny. Okay, well, it's clearly telling me the truth, because that's That's the way I'm kind of used to it. I've been taught this way. But now, only in the last, 20 years, I suppose, 25 years now, the internet's come out, and everybody can become a broadcaster. So it's become kind of a bit the more natural state of humanity, right? Where information comes at you like in a bazaar, right? Where it's the land of 1,000 lies. Everybody's telling you a little piece of something they saw, and you have to filter it out. You have to filter out what information is useful and what isn't, right? And we've kind of lost that habit. We've lost that habit, I think, and it's something. Maybe you're right. Maybe maybe this is the growing pain to start rebuilding it. But as for me, that's kind of how I treat it. There's a bunch of pieces of information, and they're telling me a piece of what's going on, and it might be not be a piece of what's actually like going on in terms of like the material like facts of a certain topic, but it's definitely telling me what's going on with them emotionally at the very least. There's always a little piece of something, but I can't fully trust everything. I can't fully trust anything that I see, and I have to come up with a system to kind of filter and synthesize a general direction. That's my only thought on that. All right, we good? We good for that one? Is it called? Can we? Oh yeah, that's right. So is it okay to call it lab leak? Yes or no? All right. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think we still disagree, but I think generally yes, but I respect Paradigm's view that there might be an implicit danger there early on in a pandemic. I understand where he's coming from.
He's done a great job pushing back, I think. Yeah. Okay. All right. So next vote, and then I've some former somewhat beef with Paradigm that I'm gonna hash out with him. Okay, but let me create this poll again. I should have prepared it while you guys were talking. All right. Let's see. I have copy paste. Feel free to banter for a bit while I type this in.
Oh yeah, I just it's one of those things, right? There's this idea of who gets to decide what the rules are when it comes to what is misinformation, what is true, what is not, and there are obviously risks to allowing just any old thing to be said. There are obviously risks to that. I would be lying if I said there weren't. But the issue for me is that the proposed cures are far worse than the disease. When we put the hands of what is allowed to be said and spoken in the hands of an organization or a group or a person or whatever, what we are saying is if at any time that organization becomes corrupt, we are fucked because we have no ability to push back. That's why I don't even like when people say you can't say that the election was rigged, right? I think it's a silly thing, right? But if there comes a point where the election actually is rigged, we need to be able to say that. If the theater's on fire, you need to be able to say the theater's on fire. You need to be able to shout it. That gang, the theater's on fire, we gotta run. So I am while I think anyone who does support the idea that the election rigged is dumb and stupid and wrong, saying you can't say that is going to lead to bad outcomes that are actually worse.
All right.
Because I want them to say it.
I'm gonna stop you for a minute. I'm gonna stop you for 1 second. It's time to vote. Hop into my chat. What are we talking about next? My fascist for saying democracy sucks. Some education sucks. What are we paying for anyways, really? How much should we work? Are antidepressants a scam or endless clickbaiting? All right. And I'm gonna let you get in hop into my chat, vote, go back to your favorite streamer. Okay, I'm not here to steal things. It's just I don't know how else to engineer this. All right, and that's it. Let's vote on that. And I want to talk to ParadigmShift about some misunderstanding we had. All right.
That was what I was gonna say.
All right. Hold on. Let me start this one. All right. So
okay.
Sorry. So ParadigmShift and I had a joint together one time. I thought it went well, and then he did the stream, and then he's like, oh, is this guy trying to convince me to go towards fascism or something? And I'm like, anyways, and that's it. And I was a bit taken aback by this because this is not my intention, but I'm thinking about what we talked about, and he was right, actually. He was right. That's exactly what I was trying to do. Like, I wasn't doing it consciously. It's just, I have this thing, I guess, when we're talking about something, and I guess I'm going to present the most extreme, like, opposition to, you know, to what I actually mean. And basically what I'm trying to do is that you're supposed to say, like, no, I wouldn't do that, is to establish your boundary, right? So I'm going far out there to give you, like, I guess the whole breadth to establish a boundary of where your value system is. But if you think about it, I'm going, so what would you do? Would you lock them up in a basement and tell them not to go out or something? We were talking about my daughter going out during a lockdown or something, and it's true. And I guess I was in fact trying to not bait him, but I was trying to, like, get him to agree to, like, oh, would you agree to the most authoritarian measures to, like, control something? But it wasn't done intentionally to. Anyways, I can see exactly why you would say I was trying to do that, and to a certain respect, you're right. I need you to know that it was not intentional. It's my way of arguing that came out that way. Okay, go ahead.
Right. And in response to that, I will say I definitely, like, I know I was explaining myself a certain way where, like, it did reach a logical conclusion, but I also didn't need to, like, air that as, like, a whole hateful segment for, like, 3 hours. I definitely didn't need to drag, like, your name and be like, is this guy what, like, this guy is a da-da-da. Like, I was really, like, you caught me when I had started here and I was already getting hit with the hate raids, and, like, everybody that I was talking to kept bringing up Nazis in one form or another. Like, even you did it. Am I a fascist for sake? So it was just like, I was just in gear mode. Like, I had spent a big portion of my life debating those ideas, so it was just bringing shit up. And it was like, I know I didn't just create a new space and it already found me. I'm a really old guy on the internet, if you want to call it that. So I just have a lot of experience with certain communities. So, like, I know things, you know? And you just caught me, like, right at that tail, and, like, everything was not hitting for me. So I was just like, damn, if I really think about this. I even brought you up in the conversation I was in with last night, because I was saying, you know, be careful, because while you do make a valid point, you are using a very big extreme, and as I learned from my good friend, like, that could be taken a different way, and it was well received. So I did learn something, and I appreciate you for that. And if I can learn something from you, I can fuck with you. So
yeah. Well, anyways, I want to, because I dealt with it by what are we doing on the poll right now? Who's winning? Hey, we got a tie between how much should we work and antidepressants a scam. Someone get in there and fucking vote. All right, just one person. I just don't want to tie. I don't want to make this whole thing worth nothing. I have to flip a coin, please. Okay.
Oh nah, coin flips are how big things get decided. You ever seen
Paradigm, you
Two-Face?
said you're an old man. How old are you?
No, I'm an old man on the internet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
I'm 28. I'll be 29
Oh shit!
in exactly.
Grandpa.
Then we're all old men on the internet, apparently.
Jesus Christ! How old are? Now I'm curious, because yo, I'm 39 years old. How old are you guys?
I'm freshly 24 as of.
What about you, Montreal?
I'm the king. I'm the king at 41.
Hell yes! Woo! Thank God. Like, I'm tired of being the oldest motherfucker on a panel.
None of those motherfuckers in their 30s could be here, though. They're the terrible ones. Oh wait, you're almost there. Okay, Wick. Okay, that's just shit. Sorry, I consider you a 40. You I'm gonna misage you.
Oh, I'm not gonna. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I'll misage myself. This is the last year I get to say I'm in my 30s, and that's hitting me, right? Like, that's hit me. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
All right. So the people have decided they want us to talk about our antidepressants a scam. Why is this coming up? I'm seeing a bunch of chatter on Twitter talking about this study that came out that SSRIs, okay, that depression is not due to a chemical imbalance, okay, and the prescription of SSRIs is some kind of big pharma scam / conspiracy to just gouge people for money. All right, and that's it, and that's it. I guess I have some experience with these things. And for me, it kind of sits like I feel like they help. I've never been on them, but people I know have been on them. They feel like it does something. But it's not really the end. It's not really the end, result. For me, they're a crutch. They're a crutch so you can not drown in your own life while you figure out what's really going on. Right. And I think to just call them a scam and they don't work at all is not the right point of view. And I want to bounce that on you guys and see how you guys feel about that.
Yeah, is this in response to the recent study about like the serotonin link with depression, or is this sort of a separate conversation, or is it a separate but conjoined kind of vibe?
Wait, is this in response to what? Can you repeat that? Sorry.
So there was like a big metadata analysis. I don't know if anybody heard about it recently, but it basically, I would say it went just short of debunking, but essentially said there really isn't strong evidence for the idea that depression is largely caused by a serotonin imbalance.
Right, exactly.
Basically, there really isn't. So I was just wondering if that was what this was kind of about. In which case, I would say no. I don't think antidepressants are a scam, even knowing that. I think there were decent RCTs that SSRIs themselves worked in some cases. And when you're dealing with mental health, I think people have to understand that we don't really have anything that is effective in the way that we have for physical health right now. So the standard of what's a scam or not is going to be a lot lower, because even if SSRIs only worked in like 40% of cases, that's a pretty fucking good success rate in regard to mental health anything. So I don't think anyone was scamming anyone by giving them SSRIs. I definitely think there were certain doctors that are a little bit lazy with just prescribing drugs in general, because it gives them a way to say, hey, take this, get back to me in 3 months, and we'll see if it works. And I think that it was well known among doctors that a lot of people had to try a few different medications to find what did work for them. And it's not their fault that they didn't know the serotonin link wasn't true. I think that now that we know that, it's going to inform a lot of better treatments, hopefully. But I don't think it means they're a scam, although I personally am very anti-medication. There are some people where when you hear what they're dealing with, you can't blame them for wanting to try anything that might have a 40% chance of working.
Yeah, so there's usually this idea that when we talk about these conspiracies, there's all this kind of big elaborate plan or scam to grift the people. Look, the truth is, in 99% of cases, there's no plan at all. It's just people following incentive structures. I'm with JebTan on this one again, is that, look, you can't blame the doctors from acting on the information that they had at the time, right? Look, this is what we talk about things being settled science, right? But in many ways, it just isn't. That's not how science works. Science is continually evolving and updating, and what we knew to be true yesterday is sometimes seen as, oh, no, we fucked up. We were wrong about that. We got to change our minds. But it's never a scam to act on the best information you have. And at the time, that was the best information people had. So is it a scam? No, not at all.
Do you think it erodes the trust in the institution of medicine to say that, yeah, these things definitely cure depression, but it turns out that they okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's the absolutism again, right? It's the absolutism. Like, these definitely work. It's settled science. There is no one that can question us. Like,
but I will
anytime
say
you say
the
that,
mental
I'm
health
like,
sphere, the mental health sphere, in my experience, I know some people have different experiences. I think most of the mental health professionals I've talked to were always very careful about, basically, like, listen, when we say something works in a mental health sense, it's a lot different than in a medical sense. What we're saying is we have patients that it has worked for.
I want to let I want to let Paradigm Shift go, because if he's anything like me, he's bursting to say things, and if you don't get it out too soon enough, forget. That's what I do.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the conversation you gotta have. And it is not about antidepressants. It is about the culture surrounding antidepressants and their supposed effect. Because as you know, placebos are a thing. And we really got to talk about the mental state that people are in when they accept antidepressants, and at what level, and at what treatment, and how are they else coping with other stresses in their lifestyle that either makes these antidepressants work better or work worse. And to my question, to my answer, hey, are antidepressants a scam? No. Sometimes you need something to get through the day. It may suck to be stuck to a pill, but like, again, it gets to personal experience. I done seen people do the thing. Like,
are we too medicated? Are we too medicated as a society?
Okay,
Yes.
Brian Griffin. Okay,
What does that even mean?
Okay, Brian Griffin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, guys, come on, Family Guy reference.
I know.
the student who had to
Are you
take
making
Adderall,
like a
and he
nose
was
joke?
like-
No.
No, it's the Family Guy reference. Come on. Anyway, no, I don't think we're too medicated.
No.
I just don't think we have the proper. I don't think we have the proper infrastructure to really help people deal with mental health issues beyond handing them antidepressants and saying, "Get on with your life." I don't think there's enough coupling of experiences in somebody's life to really make, like, if you're depressed, I take you on a roller coaster. You're depressed on the roller coaster. Like, if I give you antidepressants and we go to the theme park and they're like, "Hey, would you like to work here?"
Right.
Like, yeah, absolutely. Oh, it's great wages too. Oh, I could drive. It's 5 minutes away. Oh, and we're going on a roller coaster today. Yes. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying we got to give people who are on antidepressants jobs, but like,
Right.
you know, if you get those experiences to line up right, it feels better. We got to have more of that feel if we're going to be putting people on the type of medications that we use today.
Right. You're most likely I mean,
Yeah.
without saying like clearly nobody knows what actually causes depression. But if I were to gander a guess, right? If I were to gander a guess, it's because your neurons got used to firing in a way that you have dealt with a lot of situations that didn't make you feel great, and you dealt that constantly, right? And then your brain kind of wired itself to feel that way all the time, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so this one thing that's important to say, especially for people who are depressed, who think like, I've heard from people, or not heard from people, seen posts of people who are like, great, they don't know anything about depression. I'm depressed, and now I'm fucked, because now I know they don't know anything. What we still know is that people who experience trauma often get depression. And I think when I say society is over-medicated, I'm not saying that now that I know the serotonin imbalance isn't real. Even when I thought it was real and the evidence pointed that way, we were still over-medicated because the medications were always meant to be, like Paradigm was saying, used in tandem to like a treatment path to help people deal with their trauma. And like Montrealplayer said, so that basically you don't off yourself and you can breathe a little bit while you are in the process of actually dealing with your trauma. They were never supposed to be the end goal, though so many people used them that way, even though before this metadata analysis, we knew that's not what they were for. So when I say society is over-medicated, I'm not necessarily saying in a pernicious way. I'm just saying when you get a pill that does work, which for many people it did, and you have lived a life where anxiety or depression controlled your life, how is that not going to be something that you lean on all the time for a very long time? And the side effects of those pills were severe. And for a lot of people, they didn't work. And so they had this hope that it was going to change their life overnight, and it didn't. And that made them more depressed.
Okay,
The bottom line is we still know that you need to go into therapy no matter what. Yeah, sorry.
So the reason I push back against this idea that we're over medicated and things like that is I think that it has a chilling effect on people actually getting medication, because you're exactly right. Like the nuance you provided makes it a lot more, agreeable of a position. But most people don't say that with the nuance provided, right? They just say we're over medicated, and it makes people think that they are less than for accepting help and things, and that's just not true at all. Like, if there's one thing I would push back against, is this idea that seeking help is somehow makes you less, or sometimes somehow makes you worse as a person, or not as strong as a person. I think that we've all gone through at times where we have needed help, and if we had gotten that help, we would be better off for it. I think that we all need to look into therapy, right? Like, because it's not, we all at some point in our lives are gonna need some form of therapy. That's why I want people to be willing to go in. Like, in the military, we had a huge problem with this, right? No one would seek help because of the stigmas attached to it. And I think the same with antidepressant medication, right? There's a huge stigma attached to being on medication for these things. There's a huge stigma attached to even admitting that you have a problem. And it's
but I mean,
like,
people getting help is nice if you can get it. It's nice if you can get it. But
let me jump in real quick on that, Pand. There's a resource that like nobody I ever talked to has heard of. I'm gonna link this in the chat right now.
Oh.
For anyone who needs therapy, openpathcollective.org. It is a U.S. I believe they serve Canadian people as well. U.S., but I know they serve the U.S. $60 lifetime fee, and all of the therapists on there operate on a sliding scale from $35 to $60 a session for underinsured or uninsured people who need therapy. OpenPathCollective.org. What you want to do is go there, pay the $60, email one therapist what your problem is, copy and paste that message, send it to like 10 other therapists. One is going to respond to you, and you'll get very affordable therapy through there. OpenPathCollective.org. I put it in the chat. Continue.
Okay. Yeah, all right. I will. Actually, you know what? That's good. It sounds like another organization, the Argyle Institute here in Montreal. Sliding scale therapy. Anyways, but it would be important if you can do it and you need it. Try to find help, but I'm sure everybody's in this situation is like, yeah. If I wanted to find help, but I couldn't find. If I'm trying to find help, I'm trying. Okay. Anyways, all right, but that's good for the resource. Okay. So, do you think? Okay, when I asked if we're over medicated, do you feel like, our generalized lifestyle here in the West not exactly healthy for mental health wise? I mean, for a lot of things we have it a lot easier. Right. But it still seems like mentally we're kind of breaking down and we don't nurture that thing. There's no skills. Nobody teaches these skills in school. Nobody teaches these skills when parents are already burnt out anyways. Right. And so no one's really getting this. No one's really getting this coaching for, hey, here's how you can better your thoughts. You can have better outcomes. I'm not even going to say this is only not even accessible to just the poor. I feel like it's not accessible to anybody because, even if you can afford that kind of help, you don't until it's a problem. Right? You don't until you've noticed like, oh, it's really fucking with me. As long as as long as nothing's causing you a problem, you could be toxic as fuck, right? But then it's only when you start crying that you're like, oh, maybe there's something. It's not before, and before is when we should really be handling this. All right, go on.
Do you think that that's an artifact of simply access just not being available, or is it an artifact of the stigma we place on these types of things? Which do you think is the reason or the cause that we don't get help?
I think the cause that we don't get help. I think we're in a society that tells you to perform, that tells you to produce, that tells you to consume. Okay, and most of the institutions that disseminate information benefit from you. I'm going to say it's capitalism, right? But most of the institutions that benefit from you doing these things have no interest in you getting better because they don't have to think about that. That's your problem, right? As long as, I'm going to tell them whatever fucking little fibs I have to say, as long as these motherfuckers move in the direction of buying my shit. All right, then I guess I'm going to do it, and damn the consequences. So that's someone else to take care of. But the fact that so much of our society is centralizing around these kind of motivations, I think things like mental health, things like community building, other things that you might not think about that are essential to our society, but not necessarily essential to business, are getting left by the wayside increasingly. And if we don't start paying attention to those things, it could mean the systematic collapse for us. Honestly, that's there's my little thought on that.
Monty, you've been watching my content, brother. This has always
been my
I have
position.
a whole alter ego that spoke about that. That's crazy. I like that. You spitting right now. Good job. I wanna poke in people's heads here.
Okay.
So you brought up a very, very good point about an antithesis to the access of therapy, and that is the capitalistic threat, that surrounds us every day. Mm. You must work to survive. You must work to receive the money. Even if it's you creating your own stuff, you got to sell it to somebody. That requires you to go out there and at least walk the bag to somebody's house unless they drive up, You can have a drive-through.
You have to find a way to be useful because you have to basically pay in. We have to find a way to motivate people to pay into the system. Okay, whether it's by money or labor, or basically it's by energy and time, to pay into the system so the system can then do other things for you. That's what all of our motivational kind of stories that we tell ourselves are engineered to do. Religion, it's for God. Money, it's for accumulation of resources. But we have to tell ourselves a story so that we get out there and move cooperatively.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody wants a sense of purpose. I think one of the things that I like to stress is I think the capitalist motive is actually pretty good here. It's what's motivated a lot of people to get into private practice, mental health care. I think, and I'm speaking obviously from a United States point of view. But I think the capitalist perspective to get up and work can be just as helpful as it is destructive to people who are depressed. I know one of the things that people need to do when they are super anxious or depressed and it's keeping them locked in the house is find reasons to get out. And for a lot of people, work can be that. Even if it's work on a small scale, doing something that you enjoy. I don't think capitalism is causing issues with mental health. I think mostly it's a cultural issue. Mental health care is fundamentally more tied to your personality than physical health care is. So there are a lot of people who are just like, no, I'm just this or I'm just that. I don't have a mental illness, I'm just sad, that kind of stuff.
I think you're actually wrong in this one, but I want Paradigm Shift because we kind of stole his thing, but I want him to get back in on this.
Okay.
I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with the idea that capitalism isn't a direct factor in people's mental health.
Well, that's not necessarily what I said, but yeah, go ahead.
I could have sworn that was the worst.
What did you say? Because you said something like that.
I said capitalism is not the driving cause of our mental health crisis. Obviously, whatever economic system that you are in is going to contribute to your mental health because you're in it and it informs a lot of the situations around you. But if we were in a communist society, then in the same way capitalism is a reason for bad mental health, communism would be a reason for bad mental health.
Oh, that's not what I'm advocating. It's just we live in capitalism, so it's not like I'm going to talk about anything but capitalism. I'm okay with capitalism. I'm kind of okay with it. Depends on what we do.
I still don't think it's a major driver of people's mental health. No.
I think it's the primary driver for people's existence at some point. Wouldn't you say? Isn't the goal of capitalism to become rich?
I think capitalism recognizes the nature of people's existence, which is to find purpose in their community and find a way to contribute to their community.
As someone who's pro capitalism, but not capitalism like the fucking big system. Capitalism, the actual concept of trading instead of killing each other.
Understand. Yeah.
Right, but I think what we call big, big C capitalism is definitely a big driving factor. I think our society's too focused on you produce some valuable good that's tradable. Mm-hmm. Okay, and this is how we define success. This is how we define what we have to, we go to school so we can get a job, so we can bring in money. It's all focused on how do we feed into this commercial entity, right? And there are so many other dimensions to living our life. There's so many other dimensions to living our life, right? And I'll let you go right after Wick. Okay, there's so many other dimensions to living our life, and the fact that we focus on just a few of them leaves a lot of them by the wayside, and our habits to maintain the health of those things decays. And there's no generational knowledge to pass through because everyone's just like, oh, whatever. As long as I get money, as long as I accumulate, I'll be fine, right? And there's more to life than that. Go on, Wick.
So we're talking about these ancillary things, right? I do think capitalism has an effect. I would disagree with JebTan on that, but I think that we have a coined term for it now. It's called deaths of despair, and they are spiking. They are on a huge increase. We have lived in a capitalist system for hundreds of years, right? But it is only in the last 20 to 30 that we've seen this huge increase in these mental health issues. Now, some of that is diagnoses and being able to recognize these issues. That's some of it, surely. But this also coincides with the rise of social media. I'll give you a very specific example, right? We can look at the absolute rise of social media and how it directly correlates to the rise among self-harm in young women and things like that. And because it's a very clear reason, right? Before social media existed, you could disconnect. You could get away from the bullying. You would have school, you'd be treated poorly at school, and you'd go home. And you'd be, sometimes a bad situation, sometimes a good situations, but, there'd be an escape from that at least. Now, you cannot escape it. It is there always. You are always and forever surrounded with this system that ranks your worth. Like, it has metrics to determine how much you are worth. How many followers do you have? How many likes are you getting? How much, interaction are your posts having? You can measure all of this. It's all available to you. And we have seen a huge spike in suicidality among young people. We've seen a huge spike in suicidality among uneducated people. And it is tied to not only this, there's a lot of I would never dare to suggest this is the only factor, but it is a major factor, much more so than just capitalism in general, in my opinion.
Yo, that's crazy. Okay, I'm gonna respond to this. And again, I did the same thing with JebTan, so I hope that the feeling is mutual. I'm not saying this to be a dick, y'all. I really am not. But like, are you insinuating that these devices and these platforms that we use are not directly tied to an incentive profit thought of by the system of capitalism? Are they not publicly traded companies? Do they not answer to investors? Do they not answer to advertisers? Do they not have an outward interest in more than just the users of the base?
Yeah, I'll hop on this.
Are you suggesting? Hold on. Are you suggesting?
But just real quick, if I could respond real quick, Howard. But you can see how that is just a difference in scale rather than a difference in type. And the difference in scale would say something that is normally not as harmful, right? It's like water. A glass of it's fine and even helpful. But if you try to drink a river, you're going to drown. So I think that tying these things is, it would be like saying this person drowned, so you shouldn't drink water.
Okay. And this is what I'm saying about capitalism recognizing the profit motive, not creating it, because it's true. When you have a communist society, it doesn't eliminate the profit motive. It shifts the profit motive to the state. Social media would exist very similarly, because social media would exist very similarly to the way that it is now, if not worse, if we were in a socialist or communist society and the state had the profit motive instead of the general populace.
Well, look at the CCP, and they have structured, right, a lot of their social power based on a social credit score that they have. They actively track it. Social media in China and these other not capitalistic countries is also a huge problem. Obviously, I don't have the stats for those countries. That's why,
worse. But like, that I'm not talking about that.
What are
like,
you? But you are. What are you talking about?
Right here, like, so. The idea that we create things, like the self-fulfilling prophecy of capitalism should be that the idea of profit will breed innovation. Like it's etched in stone. Mercantilism, 1639, the trade over in the rivers, and then the slave trade brought us all the way over here. What I'm confused about is I'm trying to make a very direct link that I think our systems are built with capitalistic thought behind, because that's the society that we live in. There must be a profit made, or it must be government funded. There's really no way to get the money to pay people to do things unless you get the money from somewhere.
Yes.
And with that incentive being given, when you have major corporations who tie their advertising to like they're trying to replace television. This is not a theory. This is like the obvious, we're getting ads on Netflix. Like, come on. But I'm not talking about the difference if we lived in a different society. I'm talking about the one we live in right now. Like,
and what I'm saying is the fact that it.
No, I'm responding to him. Sorry, not you. Like, you kind of piggybacked off.
Okay, well, go paradigm shift for 30 more seconds, then JebTan.
Yes. Yeah. So you said, like, it's like water. If you drink a glass, you be fine. If you drink a river, you have some problems. The problem with that is, or with that analogy is, you'd know if you were drowning. Do these companies know that they're drowning? Do these companies know that their metrics are what are directly tied
their fates
to their self-worth?
Their fates are not directly tied into the. They're not tied in. They don't pay any cost for the mental decay of their users. They're completely disconnected. They've struck, or they found a way to play the system in a way that completely disconnects them from the negative aspects of the thing that they're trying to produce. And this is not just social media. This is all production that optimizes for money making. When money making and production become the most important things, all the other all the other factors that are in your system just fall by the wayside. You don't optimize for them, right? You just optimize for these fucking numbers, and that means that we exploit people. Okay, that means that we enjoy the convenience of easy services, and we have
it's not unique.
No, I know. No.
Capitalism.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I don't look. I'm not saying. Hold on. I'm not saying that if we abolish capitalism and go to communism, that the similar things won't happen. Okay. I'm saying
when you say capitalism is a driver for bad mental health, that is
okay. Sorry. When I say capitalism, I mean the aspect of our society that is so consumerist. Okay, that it tells us that buying products is the way to happiness. Okay, that having money and status is the way to happiness. Okay, it basically everything that means that you're feeding into whatever apparatus we have, that's what happiness is. And who's going to tell you different? We own them, we pay the media for commercials, and those are the kind of messages that get paid for. Okay, and so
that's what I'm saying when I say that it is not capitalism that's the problem. That's why I keep saying capitalism does not create the profit motive. Capitalism recognizes the profit motive and says that the profit motive is best left in the hands of the people, right? The profit motive does not get eliminated when capitalism no longer exists. The profit motive is not... Hold on, because people keep saying I know, but then they keep
fine. Go on. If they don't. Go on.
Yeah. The profit motive is not capitalist thought. The profit motive is something that capitalism and communism both recognize, right? The profit motive exists outside of any economic system. No matter what civilization you've ever been in, there is the profit motive. No matter what, you are always looking for whatever in that society keeps you alive. That's why I'm saying capitalism is not a driver for negative mental health. The profit motive is, but the profit motive is unavoidable and inescapable regardless of the economic system you're in, because the only thing that different economic systems do is shift the profit motive to different parties. Socialism and communism give the government the means of production, so the profit motive is now just shifted from the people to the state. That is all it does. It does not eliminate a profit motive. Social media would exist in the same, if not a more pernicious way, if centralized to the government. The profit motive will always exist because getting people on board with whatever you do or provide will always provide a motive, no matter what society you're in. Capitalist.
Can I stop you? Hold on. It's when I say capitalism, that's why I tried to differentiate. Yeah. I don't know if big C or little c is the right differentiator. There's the philosophical the concept of capitalism, private property, stuff like this. Okay, that I'm not against at all. Okay, what I'm talking about is how we've structured our society to optimize, for
it's not big C or little c capitalism.
Fine, whatever.
That is
fine. Forget capitalism. Let's call it blah blah. Okay, and it's the system. Okay, I like that. Okay, it's the system. Okay, that we kind of live in, that is optimized for profits, that optimize for number, and has a complete disconnection. Okay, or that is able to be disconnected with the actual costs of their production. Okay, and then tells everyone, hey, happiness equals whatever feeds into our production machine. All right, I think, and I think people teaching people and thinking, hey, success in our production apparatus, equals happiness. All right, is wrong. It's unhealthy, and unfortunately, it's fucking everywhere. It's fucking everywhere, and no one's teaching us balance
anymore. People need
anymore.
to find value inside themselves rather than external forces. I think that's the main problem, but that's not a capitalism problem or anything. It's the fact that society and culture is always.
I'll let you go after Paradigm Shift.
Yeah, sure. It really, look, I've lived in non-cap, I've lived in Europe, right? I've lived in other countries, right? That most of them were more or less capitalist. I'll admit to that. But they're these countries that people talk about as socialist paradise. I've spent time in them. I've lived in them. These problems, to one degree or another, still exist. I think that the fact that we have been told all our lives that we need to be, our value is dependent, as a person, is dependent on external forces. That, I would say, is the root of the issue. If you cannot find a way to have value internally, you are going to suffer. So we need to find a way to be okay with ourselves when we're by ourselves. To be okay with who we are without someone telling you that you're a good boy and giving you a pat on the head and a little treat, right? You need to find internal value. How you do that, how that happens, and what tools you need to get to there, such as sometimes you need medication. Sometimes you need medication to get there, right? But we need to find a way as a society to do two things. Destigmatize asking for help, okay? To go back to the actual question at hand. To destigmatize asking for help, and to find a way to develop internal value that is separate from external value. That's my opinion.
Yes, and I think that's where
I want Paradigm to jump in. Before that, before I'll just say one thing, Wick. I'm kind of on board with what you say, but as far as the self-worth thing, I think you can actually amend that to having multiple, I guess, bases to establish worth. Okay, just to have a redundancy of bases to establish worth, so it doesn't all have to be one thing. Because when it's one thing and that one thing starts fucking you over,
don't tie your whole personality to the fact you're good at chess. Because as soon as someone beats you at chess, you're done.
Yeah, it doesn't have to necessarily be self-worth. It can be, but just have a redundancy of, I guess, worth. Okay, paradigm shift. I said you had something to say or respond.
Yeah. Sorry, there's a really good part in the song that I'm listening to right now.
Okay. Well.
Shit is fucking banging. Like, this is insane music.
Then it should inspire you right now. What you're about to say is going to be the best thing you drop.
Do you want to give JebTan a minute and you can get back in it? Or are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Let's go.
So, I mean, I want to, I like to have fun, but I like to skip the subterfuge. I think that the misunderstanding is like, I don't think you can separate societal needs and the will of those who create the things you need. So, like an iPhone, no, let's do this better. Let's be more concrete, because y'all like concrete shit.
Okay.
Without a cell phone, it is very hard to communicate in today's world. Can we agree to that?
Certainly,
you sending letters, bro? If you sending letters, stop it. An email is crazy, bro.
If you are a part of one of several widespread economies, okay, that exist in our world, it's very difficult to transact in those without a cell phone.
Okay, that's very specific, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, I don't think in this world that we live in, we can fully say like finding an inner reason to exist, having like a goal set forth, like it's like the Jesus argument. And I don't want to do this right now because that's an ever-loving circle, but like it's like you gotta have a peace within you that allows you to move forward through all trials and tribulations.
Okay.
And while I get that, and I've lived through that myself, like you can't run a society on that, because some people are driven to be the worst form of themselves when they do find that inner peace. And the reason why they're able to do that, I swear to God, shut up. I'm sorry to do this. That's why I said I don't want to skip the subterfuge. If you want to say that these two thoughts, the will of the people to find inner peace, and the person who is able, or the company or the entity that is able to control a piece of that need, that ability to achieve that need. If you can't separate those in a society, it is very, I would say, negative to say that it's simply just finding a will to keep moving forward that will be your driving force. Some people need that consumerism. Like, some people need to pay rent. Some people got kids to feed. Like, there's sometimes distractions that are set up in your life. And I'm not saying that being a parent is a distraction. Like, other things come up.
I know, I get it. You could, if I could paraphrase, and I'll let you go after work. All right. If I could paraphrase, it's basically like you could have that like inner peace, right? But if trauma after trauma keeps hitting you, you know what? Even you'll crumble, Mr. Inner Peace Man. Mm-hmm. And if we have have a system that keeps inflicting these traumas on people, okay, naturally you're just gonna, you can't expect everyone to have found that inner peace, but naturally you're just gonna have a lot more people going like, yeah, society's not serving my fucking needs anymore here. I'm fucking miserable. All right, go on, Wick.
Sure.
Hey.
So I'm going to hit you guys with a truth bomb right now.
Right.
There is no possible way to avoid all trauma. And in fact, I think that anyone who does manage to avoid all trauma for a great amount of time is just setting themselves up to fail. Like in any society you have, no matter how you structure it, no matter how you entangle it, as long as other people exist, trauma is going to come your way, gang. And yes, we should mitigate it. Yes, we should look at reforming things and changing to a system that's going to do the best we can to kind of mitigate these things. At the end of the day, the only thing you can control, the only thing you can do is control how you respond to the stimuli that you are presented, right? To how do you break apart? Like, do you fall apart when your cell phone breaks? Do you fall apart?
It depends. If 50 other trauma or if two other massive things have hit you and you're just dealing with the stress of this, yeah. Something small like your phone breaking sets you off for sure.
You can, but that's why, again, you need ways to recover. And they have to be, at least in some way, internal. They have to. If you do not have that mechanism, that internal mechanism, it doesn't matter how many drugs we give you. It doesn't matter how we structure society. It doesn't matter what programs we have in place to help you.
I miss you too,
You are going to fail, and you are going to fall.
And it's nice to see you sleeve.
That's the struggle I have when
you too, Corey. Thanks for coming in.
Religious nationalists. I had a discussion with Zen Shapiro because we're both Christian, different kinds of Christian, right? But the internal sense of worth, right? Religion provides a really strong sense of that. So in Christianity, the idea, it says multiple times in the Bible, you have no identity other than that of a child of God. And it is the most freeing identity and the most beautiful identity, right? Because it's one you can't ever be stripped of. You will be born a child of God, you will die a child of God, and then you'll be born again as a child of God.
Sure, it's another platform that you can kind of, it's another pillar that you can build on, essentially, for some people.
And it can't be stripped from you. And religious nationalists, that's why it's tough to argue with them for a lot of people who aren't equipped to, especially people who aren't Christian. They're talking to Christian religious nationalists because Christianity is very anti-religious nationalism. So you kind of like have to have the knowledge, and that's the discussion Zen Shapiro and I had on the Crucible. It's hard to argue with them because they're so right that like religion is a very strong sense of that internal. They came to the same conclusion we came to here, right? That you need an internal idea of self-worth.
Their conclusion is slightly different in that it's the only conclusion.
No, I know that, and I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So they're so right that religion provides one of the most easy and irrevocable senses of internal self-worth, because you can't be undesignated a child of God by man, ever. So I think people will get consumed by that sometimes, and they'll think, so now we need to force everybody to have that same internal framework because it's the strongest, easiest, and most irrevocable. The issue is, right, on a mental health perspective, well, I as a Christian believe that the only identity anybody has is a child of God. From a mental health perspective, the best internal driver of self-worth is the one that you believe in the most deeply. And that's where religious nationalists tend to fail, is people have to have that idea of self-worth. Whether you say it's my Buddhist idea of self-worth, which is I need to get to a point where I release all desire, and that's when I reach nirvana. And that's because I have reached ultimate self-worth because I don't look outward for it anymore because I've eliminated desire. Or whatever else. Like if you have a ultimate capitalist, my self-worth is tied to what I contribute to the market or my community, right? That's where I think fucking Wick was right on. You need to get help. You need to get strategies to figure out what your self-worth comes from and a way for you to generate that on your own, whether it's religion or whatever it is.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, the issue we're talking about isn't capitalism. It's where people source their self-worth. You can live in a capitalist society and source your self-worth outside of the profit motive.
You do need to do that, except nobody wants to pay for it. I mean, that's really where it comes down. I mean, they're like, okay, well, I've gotten my money from your consumption, right? I've gotten my money from your consumption. You've offered me some units of production, and that's it. right? And the fact that
I get
the
that.
fact and the fact that all mental health, people need to eat. Mental health professionals who train you and coach you need to eat too. They need to have a house and stuff like that. They need to produce things too. So the fact that we're all just kind of centralized on this thing instead of allowing other well,
I think it's great.
No, it's not. It's not. There are so many other facets of our lives that are there ready to be cultivated, okay? And we're just ignoring. We're letting them atrophy and wither, okay? And these could these could be redundancies and support systems, okay, in our lives, but we're not. We're just sending all resources to the production metric. We're sending all resources to the money metric. Yeah, that's really what we're doing. Okay, go.
So no, when I'm saying that capitalism doesn't create the profit motive, it recognizes it. What I'm saying is capitalism allows us to monetize what we already should be doing. What you're saying, we're all feeding into the production and this and that. What is the production? Your production isn't always an item. It's not. It can be a service.
It's theoretically a value to society.
Right. Yeah. It's anything that benefits the people around you. Capitalism allows you to monetize contributions to your community. It recognizes that people in your community need you to contribute, and it devises a way to make that monetarily viable, right? United States is the only place where you can find a group of people who like that you make a tea that makes them shit a lot so that they lose weight for a couple days because they find value to their community for that, right? It's a silly example, but it's basically showing.
Well, I mean, they find value in that it makes you a more marketable product because now you're thinner, and thinner is in right now.
Right, but then in a lot of other circumstances, right, there are a lot of really important things that people make a lot of money in capitalism doing.
It's not all bad. Look, hold on. Assigning value to things that are useful to people, okay, is the great part of capitalism, honestly. Yeah. Okay, it's just at the scale that we're doing it now, okay, where the individual at the scale that we're doing it now, where it's so pervasive through the entirety of our society, it's that while on a smaller scale you could have these kind of motives, right? And then you figure, oh, okay, well, we're kind of falling by the wayside on this, so we can switch, a smaller boat, you can switch it, you can switch it directions much easier. But because this thing is so big, okay, and people are only focusing on a few metrics of success, everything else is gone. So
I disagree though.
Yeah, no,
because when you get into the nitty gritty, right, you have you have what's called a niche market, which a lot of people make millions of dollars on niche markets, which is you work outside of that big ship with a smaller little lifeboat of people who find value in the same things that you do, and you're somehow able to make an incredible living off of things that the big ship doesn't recognize as valuable. That's what I'm saying is socialism and communism are really attractive to people because the issue they have, right, isn't that capitalism monetizes things that aren't important. It's that capitalism monetizes things that aren't important to them or that they don't see as a value to society. So in their mind, if there was a communist or socialist society that prioritized all the things that I prioritize, then it would allocate investment in the perfect way and we'd have the perfect society. Capitalism allows people to actually do that by spending their money the way that they see fit and creating those inroads, whereas socialism says the state gets to decide what is worth investment, and there will always be fundamental flaws to that. And so when you attack capitalism as opposed to what Wick has been 100% on the money, as opposed to people finding their self-worth and what
Wick 100% on the money. You're going to use that over and over
I wish we could get away because it's like I know I said capitalism and I mean another thing, but I really want you to think of booga booga or whatever the fuck I said. Okay, that system.
Booga booga is what Wick is saying.
Okay,
I think Wick has uncovered the real name of booga booga, which is people identifying their self-worth and what other people find worth in them for. That is what Ooga Booga is. And it's too long of a word to make into one word, but is this idea that what people find worth in me for is what I should find worth in me for. And Wick was 100% right in putting words to what I was trying to communicate by separating capitalism and the profit motive, is that your self-worth should not come from what other people find you worthwhile for. Religion allows me a very easy out for that, because I can say I'm a child of God and that is my worth, but
I know,
whatever
but hold on. If someone's time, if things become more expensive, okay, because which is the kind of the trend here, things become more expensive. So both parents, let's say you're lucky enough to be in a 2-parent home, right? And both parents are both like they have they're completely burnt out because they're both working or something. They're not focusing on your mental well-being, and then you raise these children who have not had these like pep talks, or sorry, these habits, good mental hygiene habits, okay, installed in them, all right, because they never had a good example to start with. And the reason they haven't had a good example to start with is because the people who are supposed to be teaching them are so stretched thin, they're so squeezed, okay, by by the chase for profit and production, okay, that they don't even have time to address these things, all right, and that's what I mean. And that's the problem. The fact that this system is squeezing people so hard, they can't even tend to their mental health, nor are there the resources available to them to do that. It's like the mental health is getting attacked from both sides here. All right. It's just that there's not the time. There's not just the resources. It's not even the time to do it anymore, because everything has to be profit. Everything has to be like, oh, you have to be productive. You have to be good at work. Do extra hours. Whatever you got to do to give me as much production as possible for as little effort to me. You know, like
I don't disagree, but the issue is, the question was, is capitalism causing poor mental health or a major driver for mental health, right? And I disagree with that, because what I'm saying is, and this is where it gets really shitty, because the conversation ends here with me, which is, my personal belief is that the reason why people seem to be chasing their tails throughout their whole life is because they aren't realizing the irrefutable value that they have as a child of God. That's where it's going to end with me. But if you want to go from a secular perspective,
I'll have you on next
you need to understand that people love you, that your family loves you. If you are the struggling parent, you have self-worth because you are the struggling parent. If you don't want to acknowledge that it's because you are a child of God, whatever. If you're a struggling parent wondering where your self-worth comes from, it comes from the fact that you exist. You're worthwhile because for some reason in this vast, ever-expansive universe, you were allowed to exist, and that's where your worth comes from. I don't know how else to reconcile it from a secular perspective, but capitalism isn't what is stripping people of that. It's people not recognizing their own self-worth. I don't know what else to say about it.
The problem I have, I'll be very brief, right? The problem I have with your assertions here, Montrealplayer, is that you're being so binary about it. Yes, the system, if you let it, will take you on a wild ride where they extract as much out of you as they can. And yes, there are incentives in place that kind of lead you down this kind of funnel, if you will, into this kind of place. But most of us, many of us, I won't say most, many of us realize that we have the power at any point to say, that's enough, right? That's enough. I have enough. I am content with what I own. I am content with where I am. I am content with my job. I don't need to put in those extra hours. I don't need to put in that extra production. I don't need to fully participate in the system. Tiberius, you're stalking me, okay?
I really am.
Okay, stop. I want Paradigm Shift to talk, and then Tiberius, you said you were Malding, and you know, you've been around here a lot, so I'll give you privileges, but I want Paradigm Shift to go first.
Please speak, thank you.
Okay, there you go. No camera?
I'm working on it.
All right. Oh. Okay, well... All right.
While you work on it, just spit your round, bro.
Yeah, all right, well, hold on a second. I'm setting
loud, sorry, my bad. That's okay.
My bad.
You good?
Yeah, I'm just setting up my recorder because I always like to drop in. But I thank you for letting me in. Apparently, people really like me because they let me crash their shows now. So it's always good. And you guys are letting me thoroughly indulge in my desires to stalk Wick. It's been absolutely incredible. I think I've crashed like 3 different panels that he's been on in the last 2 days.
All right, Tiberius, stop jerking us off right now. What's your point? Tiberius D, twitch.tv, Tiberius_D. Let's go.
All right, sorry, I had to set it all up. Anyway, so the problem that I have before I get into this is that as a person who's studying economics, I think you need to apply an amoral lens when you look at economics before you apply the moral one. And the reason why is that economics does serve a function, one primary function, whether it's capitalism, feudalism, socialism, any of these isms, is that you have to deal with a world of unlimited wants, but limited needs, or a limited availability. We call this scarcity. So, how do you decide who gets what? That's what these systems are built upon. Okay, so will any of that be depressing? I think the realization that you have innately that is the fundamental principle in which all things are based on is actually a little depressing in itself, but there's no escape from it. Whether it is, which way you choose to use that, we can say that it's an immoral end to itself, but I will even make the argument that if you look at the last history, the disaster of the 20th century was that we started looking at economics back with John Smith and whatnot, and we looked at it through a largely an immoral lens. We said, hey, what is the functionality of these systems? What do they do? But the more that we got into it and that we understood economics is that by the turn of the 20th century, we decided that we were going to apply our moral codes and theses writ large into economics, and it led to the biggest disasters that humanity ever saw, whether it be fascism, whether it be communism, whether it be even some of the rampant exploitation. The long and the short here is that the problem that I have with all of this is that you have to put this as like an immoral view first and then go from it. So, does these systems make you depressed? Innately, the reality, I think, has to. The question is, does capitalism itself? And I'm going to say overall that there are people that are well adapted and well adjusted to capitalism. If you are a person who likes to go out in the world and put your name in lights, and you can chase that, you absolutely are going to love this kind of system. If you are somebody that kind of just wants to, go along to get along, actually doesn't work out for you very well. It rewards people who are innovative, initiative, and
but
active.
I mean, hold on. Well, I'm not gonna. I fully support that a market is a better way to distribute scarce resources. Than anything else. What I'm talking about is the fact that we can consume so much and offset the costs onto other people without caring about them, and that we have systematically an ability to kind of do this, not pay the real costs of the things that we consume, and therefore just keep consuming. But and the fact that our system kind of uses us in this way, it allows more. Yeah, it allows more atrophy of those habits that keep us healthy in other aspects. And
question,
yeah, and sorry, I don't think that continuing, something has to change. You can't continue down this road and think that it's just going to kind of sort itself out, because it's withering, and it's not a part that we can really. It's not a part that's addressed by the system that we have, but it's not a part that we can afford to lose as humanity. Okay, go on.
Yeah, just a question for clarification, so I'm making sure I'm caught up to speed with you, is that, are you talking about what we in economics would call externalities? These are things that, as an example, they have a hidden cost to them that you force upon other people. As an example, pollution, right? You don't have to make your coal power as expensive as you would have, because you just throw the toxic sludge out the door, exactly, and then let somebody else.
That's a good one. Yeah. That's a good one, yeah.
So, just in my study of this, is that this is a problem with every system, but the modus of the externalities are a little different depending on which system it is. Capitalism is very market driven, and so anything that doesn't directly affect on the market forms into an externality. So I can throw the toxic sludge out, and if it is not forced into the market as a cost, capitalism, or if you will call it like laissez-faire or free market capitalism, doesn't deal well with this. What is it kind of the
hold
on a minute.
Until the market decides that it is valuable to mitigate those things, which I think it's starting to, but we can talk about that in a second.
Yes. Oh yeah, so like I was going to go there anyway. The issue that kind of goes here is that whether you approve of it or not, what we have largely done in the modern world is that we've used the government as like a public trust, that it's supposed to be representative of our common like needs and desires. And so when we have things like pollution, is that we can have the government on our behalf go, hey, we don't really like you polluting because you're making things cheaper than what they're they're supposed to be. Fix it to where you make it at the cost that you need to, and you do it properly, and will bear the burden on the long end. Not saying that's perfect, not saying it works every time, but that tends to be the policy that we're going after now, and it's been largely successful.
All right. I gotta wrap this up. It's 11 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock. That's my cutoff. I gotta go have a life and serve capitalism tomorrow.
I gotcha. I was hoping we'd talk about how often people should work, because as a very overprivileged salaried worker, I have a lot of opinions.
Okay, yeah, that'll be for another time. If you want to talk about these, I had other topics, and what you got to do is you got to come in here and vote on them. You got to come here and vote on them, and I'll replenish the well next week with new guests.
We can hang in the call and give Paradigm, Wick, and Tiberius more views.
All right, yeah, let's go and.
I would like to do my just closing, because I didn't have anything else to say past the closing.
Of course, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the end. I hope you've enjoyed yourself today. I hope I've given you enough good moments, good conversation that you enjoyed yourself tonight, because I know how hard it is to sit there and spend some time with some people you don't know. If you're interested in anything that I've talked about thus far, please find me at twitch.tv/the_paradigm_shift. Please let Twitch know to give me back my username. I hate the underscores. My closing statement would be that I think that there's so many avenues that are being ignored when we talk about this system as a whole and how it actually interacts with day-to-day people. And I've had this theory for a hot ass minute that I think like a lot of people that I talk to on this platform are like in a circle already, like they're kind of, you know, getting older, kind of close. They don't do the things that like I would expect like people younger would do. They don't get outside of that. So I think that if you want to have a stance on whether or not you can separate the ego from the profit motive of capitalism, I think it forces us to recognize that a lot of people have grown up with screens in front of their faces. A lot of people have been shaped by online experiences that wouldn't happen without said online experience. People got put in places, people got connected to people, people have seen stuff. I know y'all seen them weird ass videos in 2008. I know y'all seen One Man, One Jar. Like, come on, we're all adults here. Like, I know that shit scarred you. But like that experience is a lot harder to come by if you pass it around a VHS tape talking about if you watch it, you'll die in 7 days. But apparently that one got spread just as fast. So maybe I'm wrong there. But my ending point would be, I think you have to recognize the will to survive, then to be able to find a meaning deeper in yourself. Because a lot of people live through survival just day by day by day by day. And it doesn't allow them to have the open experiences that they need. Because, yo, I got to pick up my kids at 6. I work 9 to 5. Got to pick up my kids at 6. Got to have dinner by 8.
You're squeezed.
Like,
you're squeezed.
Right, yeah, Monty, no. Like, parent right there. Like, at some point, you know, see how Monty had to, you know, streaming. I'm not sure about your schedule in real life, but like, I really don't think you could set up all the gear and equipment pack it into a van, drive to somewhere at 8, set it all up, be ready by 8:30, do it for an hour, like you got shit to do.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You stream in your house because it's a quicker location.
Course, yeah.
The ability to be able to do that without neighbors complaining. Like, how much do you pay for rent? Like, you see how it like, I think we got to look at each step of things and then build. I don't think you can look at it through just too much of an amoral lens, because it is, as Monty said, has already been weaponized by those who shape our image of the world. What is the most trending? Why is Mr. Beast have 100 million subs, even though he's literally like the Squid Games director? I don't know how people are not making these fucking connections, but whatever. And that is my piece for tonight. And if you're interested in any of the threads I just laid out, you know where to find me. And I hope you gentlemen have a great night.
Thank you. Hope you stick around. Let them shout themselves out.
Yes, please.
All right. Who wants to go next?
I can.
All right, go, JebTan.
Yeah, so my closing statement on this topic, and just generally in life, is find your self-worth, obviously outside the profit motive. But I think capitalism does a great job of allowing you to monetize contributions to your community. It takes what people find value in what you do around you, and it allows you to make money on that. It doesn't force you to make money on that. You can make money on any number of fairly invaluable tasks, but you can find value in the things that you love, or the things people around you love. And so I encourage people to pursue those things, because there's probably more money in it than you would think. That's why I don't think capitalism, because it is the system in which we exist, can contribute to mental health. But I don't think capitalism itself is contributing to negative mental health, in the sense that if you were to replace it with something else, mental health would get better. I actually think it will get worse. I think capitalism has lifted the most people out of poverty, provides the most opportunity. It is what gave America the nickname, the land of opportunity. And that is a core belief of mine. Find your self-worth outside of the profit motive. You shouldn't be getting it from your economical system, no matter what it is. And other than that, openpathcollective.org if you need fucking help. If you get nothing else from this whole panel, that link is the most important. openpathcollective.org. I confirmed it does work in Canada and all 50 United States.
And you have no affiliation with them. Zero.
Other than the fact that I personally use it.
All right.
No. $60 a session is the most you will pay for therapy on that website. So if you need help, just get in whatever you can afford. $120 a month to get in every other week is worth, whatever it costs you to make it, because your mental health is more important than anything else.
Okay. You know what? Wick?
Okay, I'll be very concise.
All right, there you go.
Okay? You can find me at twitch.tv/DeathOfCertainty. If you like my... No underscores, none of that jazz, okay? Just DeathOfCertainty, all one word. If you like my takes, if you dislike my takes, come and talk to me sometime, because I value your opinion. There's always the possibility, no matter how right I think I am, that I am wrong. And if I am, I need you, yes, you, listener, to come in and tell me why. I value your happiness, gang. Do you value mine? If you value mine, you'll sub to my channel and you'll give me a follow. That makes me
There's
happy.
that profit motive.
I my self-worth directly to the amount of subs I'm going to get tonight. So if you care at all, you will come and help me. Thank you to everyone here. Thank you to Montrealplayer for hosting us. It has been a wonderful
Thank you for
discussion.
coming.
Gang, give him a follow too. Give him a sub too. Paradigm Shift's always cool, right? I don't talk to him much. I've talked to him before. I didn't know your name, but I knew you when I saw you, right? And JebTan's always great, and Tiberius. If anyone's gonna stalk me, I want it to be. So thank you again.
All right, I'm gonna give my 2 cents on this. Jeez, I think I think the fact that we've optimized for these few things, it definitely harms us as a society. It contributes to it. I'm not saying it's all of it. I'm not saying that other systems wouldn't contribute in different ways. And if those systems were in big as scale as this one is, they would probably put similar pressure, but the fact is that in our society it's focus on mental health, maybe on physical health, on a bunch of things that I probably can't catalog. It's lacking definitely, and something needs to be done about it. I don't know what to do about it. I can tell you what I'm doing about it. I'm trying to find relationships in real life, okay, that can trade without using, without a monetary, I guess, incentive. All right. Is it pervasive everywhere? Actually, you'd be surprised. Okay. But it does take work. It's not easy like that. It takes a lot of labor. It's something that I'm risking my time and energy for. Okay. Because I'm trying to build, and I only speak in the first person, because I hate telling people that you should be doing this. I don't know your life. I don't know your problems. I don't know if you have resources. I have resources. Okay. And I'm using them to try to find a way to sustainably meet people's needs without I guess a monetary incentive, and I would encourage people, if you feel like you have the time and resources, many of you don't, but if you do, I would encourage you to look for opportunities to foster these kind of relationships around you and build micro pockets of social safety nets for people. Because in my opinion, you know what? It's one of two things. Either a collapse is coming or it's not coming. Okay. Now, if it's coming, you really want to have the, I always deal in uncertainty, and maybe Death of Certainty would appreciate that. But if it's coming, okay, you better have some safety nets to catch you. All right. And the only way to kind of and have a redundancy of them, okay? If it's not coming, is building close ties with relationships with friends and family really the worst thing for you? I feel like either way, I'm better off for it. So it feels like a no-brainer to me, and that's, I guess, what I'm here to encourage people to think about, looking for opportunities in their life. Montrealplayer, twitch.tv/Montrealplayer. I'll be doing this every Thursday, smoking some joints with people and talking about stuff that you can vote on. All right. That's it. Tiberius, you got any last words?
Oh, I had quite a bit, but I do appreciate you having me on here, and I appreciate people willingness to let me crash panels. It's always nice. When it comes to this, in a nutshell, I'll put it this way. While I do believe that, having a certain quality of life can bring you happiness, is that the majority of the time, I don't think happiness is actually provided by, if you will, like your material ends. I think that does apply to some people, and of course, you can stress a lot if you can't get access to healthcare. But when it comes down to it, happiness doesn't seem to come from away. It seems to come from within, in an acceptance of, do you like your life? And so I've seen people who are ridiculously poor be far happier than those who are ridiculously rich. I know that may be a sampling bias, but it's weird in the regards that the places that actively provide, like, quote unquote, the best lives for people, a lot of people like to talk about progressive Europe, has no children to pass them on to. So there's a level where I just kind of look at a lot of these things that people claim as far as who's happy, who's successful, and who isn't. And basically, I want to throw a monkey wrench at everybody, because I don't believe any of these narratives. I think they're lies. I think economics is important because it understands how you get fed, but it also is the reality that I don't think economics is the key to happiness for anybody. I think that's more of a social and, if you may even say, spiritual aspect of your life.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's been the High Times with Montrealplayer. Thank you to all my guests. Have a great night. Go wee if you have to. All right. And, and thanks for sticking around. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Have a good night,
all right.
everybody.
Have a good night.
You too, man.